that a lone Sukhoi jet was seen over the Jodhpur airspace, the Indian Air Force airbase, before the light combat helicopter induction ceremony began and ahead of the arrival of the Defence Minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh. Now, earlier today, Sukhoi jets were scrambled to address an aerial emergency with this Iranian passenger jet. To get us more perspective on this story, I'm now joined on the broadcast by my colleague Akash. Akash, just take us through more. What has happened over here?
So, right, you see, Griha, we already know about this ceremony that is happening at Jodhpur Airport Station, but, a lone Sukhoi jet was seen. And in fact, we have been given to understand that Indian Air Force was put on high alert just because of the this particular incident that happened in the morning itself. First, this particular flight asked for the permission to land at Delhi Airport, but it was denied for that. But at the very same time, Indian Air Force was also put on high alert to deal with any sort of possible aerial emergency, and that's the reason why we have seen this, lone Sukhoi jet that was flying above the Jodhpur Airport Station. And, we know that today we are going to induct the light combat helicopter, and, at the very same time, this incident happened before where we got to know that a foreign airline, that was moving towards China, a bomb threat was given in that particular, airline, and after that, the pilot asked for for the emergency landing, but it was denied. Then they also asked for the Jaipur landing, but it was denied as well. But as of now, what we're learning is that the particular plane is out of Indian airspace. But this is something big because we know that we have an important day today where we are going to induct these light combat helicopters at Jodhpur, and this event is in fact happening as of now. But as of now, we haven't got any sort of official confirmation as to if Indian Air Force was put on alert, but these Sukhoi jets were seen in the airspace.
Right. And Akash, this was right before the Raksha Mantri's arrival at the ceremony, for the ceremony?
Exactly. It was at the very same time when Raksha Mantri was there. In fact, we know that when we talk about induction ceremony, so Griha, puja ceremony and then the water cannon salute and a lot many things were lined up, and we know the formalities of induction. And it happened at the very same time when Raksha Mantri landed at that particular venue. And, these Sukhoi jets, in fact, we have been given to understand that Air Force was put on high alert, not only the Jodhpur Air Station, but also at Chandigarh. Preparations were in full swing, and Indian Air Force officers were all set to, deal with any sort of possible situation. But as of now, it has been averted just because, the particular plane is out of Indian airspace now.
All right, Akash, stay on with us. Let me take this across to my colleague Poonam, who's also now joining us from the CNN News 18 newsroom. Poonam, if we talk about the trajectory and also these new details that are emerging, of course, this was a massive threat that has sort of been averted. And also the timing is really crucial here because now we are told that right before the Defence Minister's arrival at the induction ceremony in Jodhpur, there was a Sukhoi jet that was seen scrambling in that airspace. So probably this distress call, this SOS call was made right then. Just take us through all that has happened ever since these dramatic turn of events.
Yes, at about 10:30 a.m. is when we're given to understand is where that distress call came to the fore to the ATC, to which the ATC said we cannot give you permission to land in the national capital. We can, in fact, suggest for you to land in Jaipur. Now, that request was not adhered to by the by the pilot of this particular flight. This is a flight which is flying in to China. It's coming in from Tehran, and this is the trajectory that we have seen of the particular flight. It is now well into the Myanmarese airspace. It is moving forward from there towards its destination. It's well on track to reach its destination. But what exactly happened in that one and a half hour that it was over the Indian airspace, that is something that we are yet to ascertain, because we do not yet have details of whether or not the pilot or the crew actually got back in touch with the ATC after they were told to land in Jaipur and they decided not to. What happened from then up until it actually crossed out of the Indian airspace, that's something that yet to be ascertained. We don't know if this was just a hoax, if it was an unruly passenger. All of that, all of those details will only come to the fore once the flight actually lands at its destination in China.
Poonam, we're talking about almost 1.5 to 2 hours over here. There was a suggestion that was made by the ATC to actually get the plane to land in Jaipur. However, something that was denied by the pilot on board, and we're talking about the Iranian passenger aircraft over here. How then is it possible for that entire aircraft to go ahead and fly into the Indian airspace, because of which, of course, there was a lot of security concern? Remember, we're talking about a bomb threat here. Do we know about the details there?
Griha, so far we do not have details of what exactly transpired on board, but because it was a threat that could not have been taken lightly, exactly why and for that specific reason is why Sukhoi 30s were actually pressed into action almost immediately after that threat call came to the fore. There were at least 2 of them that intercepted that particular flight, flew along with it, tracking it, monitoring it, perhaps trying to ascertain what exactly was happening on board up until the time that it actually left the Indian airspace. By now, it is well out of our airspace. It has now crossed over outside of Myanmar as well. So our Sukhoi 30s are perhaps back at the base that they were scrambled on from. But given that the Sukhoi 30s intercepted, ensured that the plane was out of the Indian airspace and then came back to their respective bases, perhaps goes on to show that there was some sort of mechanism that was put in forth for at least the security agencies to find out what really was going on board that flight.
All right, Poonam, thank you so much for all those updates. Let me take this across back to my guest who continues to be with us on the broadcast. Group Captain MJ Augustine Vinod is with us. Captain Vinod, I'll ask you the same question. What really happens in this case? What is the protocol? If there is a distress signal which is sent out to the ATC and there is a suggestion that's been made by the ATC, still the pilot here in question denied that request of landing in Jaipur, decides to actually take that entire route which was planned for the aircraft, goes through the Indian airspace, then goes ahead and continues till Myanmar. How is that allowed?
Not allowed. I mean, long story short, let me give you straight up front, not allowed, firstly. Secondly, if you can take me in a slightly bigger screen, this is where he was holding. No, this is the cleared route. Now, this route, viewers need to understand this.
Yes.
ये लकीर का फकीर है ये route. This route, there is something called RNP, Required Navigation Performance. So these routes are RNP 5 or 10, which means he cannot stray more than 5 miles off this route. It is as simple as that. If he has strayed beyond the buffer zone, which is 5 miles either side of the route, he is supposed to be asked to land, which is what our ATCs have done, and he is held on to this place, and which is where this is Jaipur. And notice the trajectory that he has travelled, right north of Jodhpur when we were inducting LCH. So दाल में जरूर कुछ काला है. इसको I'm sure our intelligence agencies, our Ministry of External Affairs will go to the bottom of this and find out how this was done. That is point number 1. Point number 2, a question that you raised earlier. India sits astride the west and the east. So most of the traffic which goes from east to west and west to east travels on the Indian airspace. And we have a huge amount of traffic which transverses this route. So this is a very, very busy route. Even today, even right now, when you will see 10, 20 miles behind this particular aeroplane, there will be other aeroplanes. Those would have been diverted to different routes for reasons known. But what really perplexes me is an airline like Mahan Airlines. I mean, Mahan Airlines has 77% load. It is one of the very good airlines of Iran, formed in 1992. It is headquartered at Tehran, flies all big jets, 747s, these Airbus 340s. They are all wide-bodied jets. So how can a bomb enter this particular aeroplane is what really perplexes me, when we have such exceptional security facilities post 9/11 in place in all the airports. So that is this is something which needs to be looked into, because getting a bomb aboard an aeroplane is not. Getting a weapon with few parts here and there may be a possibility. Getting a bomb into the aeroplane, that means there is seriously something wrong that has gone wrong at
are you
Tehran
ruling it